How is Ed Sheeran able to create live stadium shows that rival many world-class bands, despite being one guy with one guitar? Today I'm going to explain how he makes 80,000 people forget he's standing there all by himself. I'm going to show you how the magic happens. I'm going to show you the secrets behind his performances that have made him one of the artists of our generation. And it all starts with a loop. Chapter 1, what is live looping? So before we get into Ed's specific setup, I think it's helpful to explain live looping. As a looping nerd, I find this stuff really fascinating. In really simple terms, looping is where you play a musical phrase on an instrument, you record that phrase, then you play it back over and over. You can add more phrases or sounds to that loop, so you build a whole backing track which you can sing and play along to. What loopers normally do is add sounds that mimic a full band. So you might hit the guitar to mimic a drum, you might add an effect to the guitar to make it sound like a bass or a keyboard. Exactly what Ed does. If you look at this loop pedal, you may have seen guitarists using this kind of thing before. You press the button once to record the loop, then you press it again to stop the recording and play the loop back over and over while you add more sounds. This is how Ed started, and he used a boss pedal a bit like this. I'm a looper myself, and one of the things it's worth saying is that it takes a lot of practice to learn how to use one of these. So this is why Ed spent years busking and learning his craft. So behind any one of his stadium gigs is thousands and thousands of hours of practice and performance. So he's put the work in. Now, there is actually a problem with looping songs. Given you're creating a backing track with fixed sounds, it can be quite hard to loop a song with a more complicated chord structure. So if the verse and chorus have different chords, this makes it tricky. A great example of a band which would be very hard to loop is Queen. Their verses and their choruses are so different. But for Ed, he has leaned into this constraint. His songs are incredible. The simplicity is sometimes their greatest strength. But behind that simplicity is a level of musicality and genius. And you can see that clearly in his approach to building a song from scratch. Chapter 2, building the house. To understand how Ed builds his songs, we need to get into music arrangement. When you hear a song on the radio, a lot of effort and thought has gone into it. It isn't just musicians jamming until they sound good. Somebody will invest time in thinking about what instruments to play and when. This person is an arranger. These days it's often the artist themselves, or if they can afford it, they hire a producer who arranges their songs. And their role is crucial in how the song sounds. Ed is trying to entertain 80,000 people, so he really needs to think about his arrangements. If he just jams out some improvised loops, they will probably sound weak or muddy. So Ed carefully plans his looping in advance. You can prove this by watching the same song in different concerts. Ed will follow the exact same process in both concerts. Both songs are live, he's playing the parts live each time, but the process and the timing is exactly the same. Building a loop, he will often layer the rhythm elements like drum sounds first. This is so he gets a stable track with strong rhythmic cues to play the other parts to. Then he'll layer chords on top and backing vocals. Remember that he also has guitar that he can play over the top, so he often leaves space for himself to play along with the backing track. So let's use Shape of You as an example. It starts with the iconic riff, which again is very rhythmic. As an interesting sidebar, look closely at what he plays on the keyboard. Can you see that he's playing one note at a time? This is despite having chords with at least 3 notes being played. Geeks, or nerds like me, call this triggering. He hits one key, but you hear a massive 5-note synth chord. It ensures that in the middle of a sweaty stadium gig, he gets a perfect studio quality chord every single time. So this is a nice tech point that nerds like me love. The next part is he records the beat, then he layers on the other parts like the vocals. And talking of vocals, if you've ever wondered why he has a second microphone, it's quite simple. That second mic is only for looping. It's plugged directly into the looper. That means he can separate the recording of vocal loops with the live vocal on mic 1. Once he's finished building the song, he now has all the parts he needs for the loudest bit of the song. He can start and stop different elements of the backing track depending on whether he's playing the verse or the chorus. And the other incredible thing I would say about Ed is that he takes no more than 60 to 90 seconds to build his loops in all his songs. He doesn't waste time on any of his looping songs. Some singers spend way longer building loops, even up to 5 minutes. In my opinion, this is way too long and it gets boring for your audience. Have you ever seen a looper spend 5 minutes building their song before they even start singing? Do you find it interesting or boring? With Ed, it's quick, fast, and interesting. It's a core part of the magic of the show. So Ed is the master of his stadium performances. But it wasn't always like this. Chapter 3, the stadium problem. So, if there are any other looping nerds out there like me, you may already know the issue. If you've ever tried to copy Ed using a pedal like this, to be honest, it sounds a bit shit. This pedal is a one-track looper. All the sounds are mashed together in one go, layered on top of each other. If you record the guitar too loud, tough. You have very limited control over the sounds that come out. You can't mix them, and they often sound really muddy or weak. Compare that to a live band. Every drum has a microphone and a channel. The guitars have a channel. The vocals have a channel. These channels are all independent. There's a mixing engineer listening who is moving the levels up and down throughout the gig. So if the guitar is too quiet, he turns it up. This is a problem for loopers who are starting their gigging journey. But one of the incredible things about Ed is that he solved these problems himself. And to solve these problems, he had a couple of specific solutions. Solution 1, his choice of guitar. Ed famously describes his guitar as small, and it is small. If you compare the size of Ed's acoustic guitar to a standard acoustic guitar, you can see it. This choice massively helped him at the start of his career. Ed's songs, as we've said, are built by layering guitar sounds. If you have a normal sized guitar, it has quite a lot of low and middle end, the deep sounds, the low to mid frequencies. So this sounds great if you're just playing a song on a guitar in one go. But if you constantly layer sounds from that guitar, the overall sound will become muddy. All those low and mid frequencies start to add together, and it will sound terrible in a live gig. The smaller guitar he uses takes a lot of that deep low end away, leading to a cleaner sound that works really well live. And it also meant, as a bonus, he had a smaller case to carry around when he was gigging. Solution 2, his choice of pedal. If you watch this video here, my favourite song by Ed, you can see the pedal he used. It was a Boss RC20. Now, it's been discontinued, but at the time it was a really popular pedal. Using this pedal was genius because it had 2 tracks on it, not like the 1 track that I showed you earlier. This meant he wasn't mashing all the sounds together as I mentioned before. He could actually create 2 independent layers of music within the pedal. This meant his level of control of the sound was vastly improved. Ed gigged with this pedal for many years, but it still has drawbacks for stadium gigging. And unfortunately, nothing on the market at the time did what he wanted it to. So he did it himself. Chapter 4, the secret weapon. The first time I saw Ed Sheeran's custom pedal board was during a performance of Shape of You. I think it's fair to say that it broke the internet. Everyone wanted to know how it worked and where they could get one from. Back then, you couldn't buy one. He's had a few iterations of this pedal. The first one was called Chewy Monster, the second one was called Chewy 2, and I think he currently is using something called the Sheeran Looper. And actually now he's released a series of pedals on the market that mimic this. They're not quite as powerful as the actual set that he uses in his live gigs, but he actually himself uses them sometimes on smaller gigs. And if you want to know how to build a pedal like this in Ableton Live, I've got a video here that you can follow. So I have quite a bit of experience on how the pedal works. It's really clever. Firstly, it's a 4-track looper, meaning he has 4 independent loops that can be mixed together by a mixing engineer. This solves part of the stadium problem and brings a level of control to the sound. The first track is called Guitar. He records any guitar chords and melodies on here. The second track is called Boom, and he uses this to play beats on, where he hits the guitar or strums muted strings. The third track is called RC20, which is named after his old pedal. On this track, he records anything: vocals, guitars, beats. It's kind of like a hold-all track. And the fourth track is called Vox, which is short for vocals. This is where the backing vocals are recorded. So the mixing engineer knows what he will be getting on each of these channels, so the mix is strong. Ed can start or stop any of these in any order, so he can create dynamics in the song. He just needs to press one of the 4 buttons. Secondly, the pedals are absolutely massive, so they're really easy to hit with your feet and not get confused in a live stadium situation. And there's also a really nice display that shows the audio levels of each of the tracks, so Ed can visually see what is playing at any given moment. The pedals on the left of the board control the looping functions. The clear pedal is pressed at the end of each song. It completely deletes all the audio and he can start a new song again. The undo button allows Ed to undo a mistake. If you've recorded a loop which was wrong or just sounds off, Ed can press this and it removes the last recorded loop. Stop is pretty obvious, it stops all the track. Record or play has 2 functions. You press it to record a loop, but it also starts the track if you had pressed stop. And then the mode button is pressed when you want to move between 2 modes. Mode 1 is record mode. In record mode, if you hit one of the 4 pedals on the right, it will record whatever you play into that track. So Ed starts the song in record mode and presses these pedals to capture his arrangements into each of the 4 tracks. This is great for the start of a song, but once Ed has captured everything, he doesn't want his vocals or his guitar to keep getting loops. So he enters mode 2, playback mode, by pressing the mode button. This now means that nothing more is recorded, and Ed can start and stop the 4 tracks of the looper by pressing the buttons on the right. And finally, I have no idea what the bank button does. Let me know in the comments if you know. Behind the scenes, this pedal is linked to a computer running powerful software like Ableton Live, which this channel has a lot of videos about. So subscribe if you're interested in that, or if you're interested in hearing more breakdowns like this. And while you're there, let me know if there are any other artists you'd like me to cover like this in this way. So thanks for coming into my nerdy world of the pedal, but music is much more than tech and pedals. So how does Ed generate such a strong feeling in his audience each and every gig? Chapter 5, the human element. The first point I need to make about Ed's performance is his musical talent. He is an incredible singer and has an immense stage presence. He's worked hard at those, but beneath his talent and skill lies a couple of elements that, for me, are fully part of the magic. Element 1, live music jeopardy. If you're like me, you are probably tired of listening to AI slop music. Ed Sheeran embodies the very opposite of this. Live performance is exciting because there is jeopardy involved. If Ed misses a pedal or sings out of tune, that's what you hear. And in fact, he does these things every gig. All the best musicians do. I'm sure you've seen these videos too, but there are loads on YouTube where Ed has made a mistake and starts again. People don't mind this. People like human music. When Ed makes a mistake and has to hit undo, the audience cheers. Why? Because it proves he isn't just pressing play on a laptop. It proves the music is being born right in front of them. So for anyone out there who wants to perform live, don't forget this. You've got to obviously practice loads, but there needs to be that element of jeopardy. There needs to be that chance that it might go wrong. Your audience needs to feel that jeopardy. Element 2, the final instrument. The other element in which Ed is world class at is his crowd control. The audience is often his final instrument. Ed is a master at bringing the crowd into his set, making them part of the performance. This makes the crowd even more engaged and sucked into his performance. It makes them feel like part of the show. This is something that's worth investing time in if you want to perform live. How do you bring the crowd in? How do you engage them? Ed is class at this. Ed Sheeran mastered looping with a guitar. But what happens when you take those same concepts and apply them to a modern EDM DJ set? To see how Fred again broke the internet using the same invisible magic, check out my breakdown of his Tiny Desk concert right here.